What's up guys, it's Jordan here and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about Mass Effect Andromeda, the current joke of the internet I guess. This game is getting absolutely bashed online. I just want to say, if you guys are looking for a video where I'm going to completely destroy Andromeda, that's not what you're going to find here. I'm going to be talking about criticisms of the game, but overall I've been really enjoying it so far. So I'm going to try and, paint a little bit of a better picture for it. I'm currently working on a single player in-depth sort of impressions review kind of thing. Not a review actually, but just like talking about the single player. Obviously there are things wrong with it, but overall so far I think this game is an absolute blast, and I'm going to be talking about why I think it's getting so much hate on the internet, but that is going to be for the single player video. This one is solely talking about the multiplayer. I'm doing this first just because it's going to be a shorter video. The single player is obviously the main attraction of a Mass Effect game, and the multiplayer is kind of like a tacked on extra, which I have surprisingly had an absolute blast playing. I have been playing with friends that I know, so that might be a big factor in why it was more fun, but we're going to be talking about the multiplayer and just what I think is good about it and what I think is bad. So we're going to start off with things that I think are bad or need a slight improvement. There's nothing major, but I thought it would be a good idea to start off with this one, and then we can finish it off on the high note of the things that I think that the multiplayer does well, or things that I think are very enjoyable. So the first thing is something that a lot of people are aware of and know already sucks, and that's microtransactions. They're not a huge deal because obviously you can earn all the packs from playing, but some of the higher up packs are like stupidly high in credits. Like one of them's like 100,000 credits, the top crate, and you can normally get around about 4,000 to 5,000 credits average per game, more depending on what level of difficulty you're doing it on, but especially when you're starting out, don't expect to get any of the higher packs at all, which is a real bummer because a lot of it is just like cosmetics and also in-game consumables and things that help you out. So I think it's a bit silly to have it that high. I think something like Halo 5, even though I hate the rank system, has like the point system right in the way that you can play like 5 games and hopefully get a gold pack from that, whereas with Andromeda you can need to play a hell of a lot to get the top rated pack, and to be honest I kind of got bored of waiting, so I just ended up buying the lower packs, which gave me all the consumables that I wanted anyway. My next point is not necessarily multiplayer specific, it's more slightly about the game, so I'll go further into this in my single player video, but it's the glitches and the smoothness of the game. I find especially when things are getting chaotic, because it's such a small environment that the maps are, you end up finding the camera glitches all over the place, or the animations can get a bit jumpy, and it's just a real pain in the ass to figure out what's going on when you can barely see your character. And also the clamber system hardly ever works for me. I don't know if it's just me, but I always find that if I jump towards a ledge, it's like a 50-50 chance as to whether or not he's going to grab them to the ledge. And these multiplayer matches do get extremely intense, so when you're like in the moment and you've got like 10 people chasing you, if you can't climb up the wall, you're basically screwed over, and if you lose the mission or don't complete it, you don't get any of the single player rewards, which is one of the biggest incentives to play multiplayer, and something that I'll get onto later in this video. Going back to the loot system for point number 3 is that I think that the weapons and things like that you get from the crates are too hard to get. Again, I've already mentioned that the top rated crate, or whatever it's called, is a hard one to get because of the amount of points you need, and all of the other crates seem to have a very low chance of dropping new guns. I've played probably for about 5 or 6 hours in the multiplayer, and I've unlocked 2 guns, and I could just be very unlucky, but my friend who I was playing with has also only unlocked 1 gun, and he was playing all the time with me. So far it looks as if it's going to be a real pain to get new guns. I've also only had like 1 weapon modification, so I haven't had a whole lot in terms of customization. I have had a couple of class kits or gear kits, I can't remember what they're called. Basically the characters, and they do help change it up a bit by playing different characters, but in terms of the gunplay, I've basically just been playing with the same guns most of the time, which is the stock assault rifle, and I sometimes switch it out for the stock sniper rifle, so that can get a little bit repetitive because there's just not that much selection as opposed to the single player where you have loads of guns that you can craft and stuff. It may have been quite interesting to see if they'd brought that crafting system into the multiplayer, but that's just some food for thought there. So in the interest of keeping this video quite short, or relatively short, I'm going to move on to the positives. Those are the 3 big standout negatives that I thought of whilst playing the multiplayer. I will do some more in-depth videos if you guys want me to. Just drop it in the comments if there's anything else you want to know about the multiplayer. But in terms of the positives, the first thing I want to say is just addictive gameplay. Again, this isn't exactly multiplayer specific, but the gameplay of Andromeda, when it's not glitching out with the camera and stuff, it's really addictive. The cover system is very nice, the way you can just easily slide into cover with the jetpack. So it's very addictive. It's kind of like Gears of War Horde mode. Like the reason it's so much fun is just because the gameplay is so addictive, and I found that with Andromeda, which I was quite surprised about, to be honest, because with the Mass Effect games, although I primarily play it for the story, I've never found the gameplay to be massively engaging. Like it's not bad by any means, but the gameplay was never the strong point, it was always the story. So to find myself really enjoying the multiplayer because of the gameplay was quite surprising surprising, but that's definitely one reason I love it. Just the combos are so much fun. Like when you freeze someone and your teammate hits them with like a rocket launcher, it's just so much fun to see those combos rack up and the amount of damage that you can cause to enemies. I find as well in relation to addictive gameplay, the difficulty scaling is really good. Like wave 1 to 3 is quite easy, and then it just gradually gets harder and harder in a good way. Like some games have that horrible jump where like wave 1's super easy and then wave 3 is like impossible. It does get very hard and hectic, but the gradual difficulty increase is definitely spot on, and it's just very fun to go through the waves. Number 2 is the relation to the single player. As I've said, single player is always the main attraction for a Mass Effect game, so it's a lot of fun to know that when you're playing multiplayer, it's actually feeding back into your single player. I really like the way that you get like in-game loot rewards for your single player character. You get crates depending on what difficulty you complete, so if you complete a silver difficulty mission, you'll get a silver loot crate for your Pathfinder character. It's really nice to see it feed back into your single player in gear, basically. Like you actually get items from it, which I think is really cool. So if you're like blasting through multiplayer for your trial, when you start up your single player on March 23rd or whenever it comes out for you, you're going to have a lot of gear waiting for you, which I think is really nice, and it just makes it so much more fun knowing that your multiplayer is actually tied in with the single player, because again, I can't stress this enough, single player is always the main attraction for a Mass Effect game. So my third reason why I've been enjoying the multiplayer so much is just it's good co-op fun. So many games nowadays are really pushing for competitive, and like I'm gonna be a bit of a hypocrite here because I love competitive games, like I play Siege all the time. However, it's nice to just have a good fun co-op game. Like we seem to be losing co-op games in favor of competitive FPSs or whatever. Every game basically has competitive now, so it's nice that Mass Effect isn't trying to follow the trend and it's just being itself. Like co-op fits in Mass Effect perfectly, however competitive doesn't. And the reason I'm bringing this point up is because I've seen loads of people suggesting that Mass Effect have competitive multiplayer. It's not going to happen just because of how much stuff is in Mass Effect. Like it's balanced all around player versus enemy, PvE. So to try and throw PvP in, it's just going to mess up the whole balance they have going with PvE. So the game mode of multiplayer in Mass Effect just fits perfectly. This is right for Mass Effect, and it's just good fun. Again, just good fun to play with your friends, so definitely play it with friends if you get the chance. I imagine playing on your own would be a little bit less engaging, but yeah, so if you have friends who have Mass Effect, definitely play the co-op with them. So on to the fourth point, which is map design. Now, first thing I want to say is there's not many maps, and that's definitely going to be a problem going into the future. I have not had enough time to play Mass Effect Andromeda yet to get bored of the maps, because obviously I only have 10 hours to play it like everyone else. However, the map design that I've played so far is really good. All the maps are just so well laid out and so addictive to play on, and definitely good fun when you factor in they've got objectives and things like that. It's not just survival, which I'll get onto in a minute. But yeah, so far all the maps have been really good. There isn't a single map that I don't like, but the end problem is there's only 5. And obviously for people that play multiplayer all the time, or people that are going to get into this big time, the map's going to become stale probably quite quickly. However, they have said that they'll be releasing new ones along with guns and other things in updates, so that's good to hear. So the final point is just the objectives and the game mode itself. It's so much fun to have some parts survival, then you get different objectives. It really keeps it fresh, and it's just so much more fun when you suddenly get thrown with an objective and a timer, because you can go from, you know, just barely surviving that last wave, and all of a sudden you have an objective to do and you have to hold like a corridor or something, and it's just so much fun as opposed to like just a straight up survival mode, which is what I thought it was going to be when I first got into it. I was like, oh great, it's just going to be a survival thing, which I wasn't too fussed about, and then all of a sudden it started throwing objectives, and it gets so much more fun and chaotic when you have objectives to do and you have that timer. And I've had so many games where like literally it's gotten down to the last second, we've just finished off the assassination or, you know, deactivating the terminal, and it's just great fun. I can't stress enough how much fun it is, the game mode itself, to have survival and objectives all mixed into one and not just have an objective game mode or a survival game mode. So yeah, that is basically everything about Mass Effect multiplayer for me so far. Again, I've still got a few more hours left on the trial, so I'm going to play some more of it, and obviously I'll make some more videos on it when the game actually launches. But to everyone who's probably on the fence about this game in terms of multiplayer, I would say check out the single player first, because the single player is obviously going to be the biggest thing, but multiplayer is actually surprisingly good. If you are picking up the game for the single player and you're not considering playing the multiplayer, definitely just play a few games, because you might find that actually it's pretty fun. The biggest thing is the fact that obviously the gameplay is now really good in Mass Effect. It still needs a few tweaks and a few bits of polishing, but overall it's just really addictive and fun, which makes the multiplayer also very fun. And definitely play it with friends. It's so much more fun when you're playing with people that you know. So overall, I would say it's actually very good fun. I've had an absolute blast playing it. I'm definitely going to play some more of it. But anyway guys, keep an eye out for the single player video that I'll be making soon, where I'll be talking about everything single player related, which will probably be a lot longer than this video, because single player there's a lot of things to talk about, good and bad unfortunately, but yeah, that video should be coming out shortly in the next couple of days. So anyway guys, if you did enjoy this video, then please do smack that like button and subscribe for some more awesome content, and I will see you in the next one.